Yeah, so it was a good month for PLP. You got rid of me. You got David
Oh,
Malukas. Yeah, not a bad upgrade. So I hope he has fun. I hope you guys have fun with him. He's a good guy. Don't really have anything negative to say about him. I think the only thing that you're gonna miss is when you introduce me, it's just Hickey. When you
yeah.
introduce him, it's David Malukas of Dale Coyne Racing with HMD Motorsports, IndyCar driver, rookie of the year at the Indianapolis 500.
Should I bring that up
That's
in our first episode?
absolutely that'd be the first
Okay.
thing I'd ask him. It's
Yeah.
like,
I
hey
don't. I
man,
don't
did
want to
you
have
get
poor,
did the
poor
IndyCar at least
sportsmanship.
buy, or did the IMS buy you a bottle of wine first, or the media or whoever voted for Jimmie, did they buy you a bottle of wine first, or
Is he even 21 yet? Is he even allowed? We might have to hold off on
I
that
mean,
bottle of wine till next year.
I don't know. I wouldn't care either.
Yeah.
I'd give him a spotted cow, but then
Yeah.
I get arrested. Well, Wisconsin, they don't have walls, but
Yeah. Wisconsin doesn't really care about anything. I kind of gathered that this weekend. But did that was so mean. Did you get to you enjoyed Road America? You got to wander around and have you few spotted cows and whatnot. So what's it like watching Indy cars around Road America on probably the most beautiful weekend of racing we might have ever seen?
well, yeah, it's just that. You look at the forecast this week, which is the traditional week that it's on, and there's heat indexes all across the Midwest. So, hindsight, not really mad they moved it up a week because the weather was amazing. The predicted showers for I think it was Saturday really held off. It
Yeah.
was just a couple sprinkles here and there. Nothing. It was like kind of right after IndyCar qualifying. It rained for maybe a solid 10 minutes, and the radicals were impacted. But it was a beautiful weekend of weather. Race day was great. I was talking last night with some of the guys that the only vantage points I didn't really get to check out when the Indy cars were on track was the carousel and sitting on the hill on the front stretch where you get to see the last corner and see them come at you up the hill. I didn't get to check those two out. But other than that, I was fortunate enough to have a lot of time to go check out everything. And it was, it's tough. It's, the first couple of days when you get home, you're sad that you're no longer there, and you're sad that you're no longer with, your racing family and whatnot. So in a week, I think I'll, look back to the times like, oh yeah, you remember when Jay was massaging Lighting's leg on the first night that we were there after several alcohols? Because I do. That was a good time. Or, hey, do you remember when Thomas broke out his shirt on Saturday night in front of everybody and put it on and got to show off? And I'm not going to say what it says, but he'll know what I'm talking about, and anybody who's there knows what I'm talking about. Waking up to Jill's breakfast, seeing Jeff, and obviously Lighting and Michelle, and yeah, it's those kind of things you're gonna miss. So I probably sound like a bumbling old man right now, and my parents were there obviously, so they got to enjoy the experience too, and got to hang out with a bunch of our friends, a couple guys from the league, CD Colin. Good times.
I think I hung out with your parents longer than I did you.
Probably right. What was it? Media Center, 5
And
minutes on pit lane.
yeah, my schedule this weekend ended up way busier than I expected, but which is a good thing. Like it's not bad, but I did get to walk down. I walked all the way down that hill into the last turn because I wanted to see the cars kind of as they go up the hill. I was like, wow, this is really cool. And then walking back up the hill, I immediately regretted how far I had walked. So that was not as fun, but it was really cool.
How many times have you gone from the go-kart track to the media center?
0.
That is the most unfun walk in the history of ever because it's entirely uphill.
So if I'm like where the paddock is, the Parker Johns, let's say, where am I going? Like what direction at least?
So you're going towards turn 4, which isn't a real turn. It's like between turns 3 and 5. You're going over the Sargento Bridge and then keep going straight down the hill towards the carousel and then going over the Johnsonville Bridge. And then that gets you to the go-kart track.
Sure.
Going there is not a problem. It's all downhill. going back sucks. May have biked that once and suffered severe heat exhaustion and vomited because of it.
Oops.
Trying to bike uphill all that way.
Not this year.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No. Jill lets me use the golf cart now, thank God.
Thanks, Jill.
Because I'm lazy. So, yes, thank you, Jill. And thank you to Jill, Thomas, and Jay for putting up with me all weekend. That was much appreciated. I got the room with Jay. That was a great time. I might have fallen asleep mid-sentence. And it wasn't even, I mean, it was like slightly, I had several beers, but I was definitely not intoxicated. I was just very tired. And
I do that sober, so, you know.
Yeah, we were talking about stuff that was kind of like, like stuff that I should be paying attention to, and then we got like talking about subjects that were just like bullshitting, and I definitely just fell asleep. So my fault. But yeah, it was such a fun weekend. It's just good to see everybody having a good time, and David and Michelle invited their friends Sarah and Tim. It was Sarah's second race, Tim's first race, and just to see their kind of like they're around our age, and to hear them kind of their enthusiasm and asking questions and wanting to learn what's going on, just to see like new people come to the track. It's always a good time. So I already miss it. I can't wait for next year already. The only real issue I had on the weekend was that the Turn 5 corn was sold out pretty much all day Sunday. So lesson learned is I need to get my corn on Friday or Saturday next year. I went up 3 times, and they said, come back half hour, come back in 20 minutes. Michelle went up once during the race for our group, which was very nice of her to attempt to get one for everybody, and she was told come back in half an hour. And then so I literally set my phone for a half an hour timer, went up because I was chilling with the lightings at that time, and I was going to go back to the bench group. Went up, went to check. They said we're out for the day, and this is on like lap 31. So by lap 31, they had sold out of corn, which is very sad. And people are gonna people always kind of just linger after the race too. So I think they sold a ton on Friday and Saturday, which I doubt, or they were just ill prepared this year. Which either way, I'm very sad. So that was like the only detracting experience from my weekend. And I was almost in a police chase crash on my way to the track on Thursday.
I'm guessing you weren't involved in that. You just got sucked into it by nature of where you were driving.
Yeah, it was a sharp. Yeah, it's going through Portage, Wisconsin. There's a bridge into town on the main street, and then it's like a sharp 90-degree turn that the main street takes. So it's not like I was turning onto a different road. I hear sirens, and I'm like, check my mirrors. I'm like, well, they're not behind me. And I was in my lane, and so I'm like approaching this 90-degree corner, and all of a sudden 2 SUVs just come hauling ass around the corner. And one of them straight into my lane, and it wasn't like anything dramatic, like they were almost hit me, but it was definitely like, ooh, wow, like if I was, 50 feet further ahead, I would have been just sideswiped. And so I'm like, God, they were hauling. It was a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. I'm like, God, they're hauling. All of a sudden, you see 4 cop cars hauling ass behind them to try and catch them. I'm like, and then one by one, they were probably about like 15 seconds apart, but there was 10 more cop cars following, so I just had to like pull over for a solid 3 minutes while the cop cars chased him. And I never looked. I might Google that while you give a story or two, but I should probably figure out if there was something. Hope nothing serious happened. But yeah, that got me awake a little bit, I guess, on the way there. I had about 90 minutes left after that.
That's definitely a reasonable thing to kind of, give you quite a wake up.
Yeah. Like I said, it wasn't major, but it was, it was interesting, we'll say.
Anyway, we'll go through some news. We'll go through the race recap here, and then if there's any news, we can get to that later on. But it was kind of a weird race. It was chaotic at the start. We had Jimmie Johnson off in turn 4, turn 5, may have been forced wide. I don't think it was really all that egregious, but it happened. Then a lap or 2 later, we had what was the second one here? What was the second? There was 2 incidents in the top in the first
Palou.
10 laps. Yeah, it was Palou and Marcus Ericsson, which we'll discuss in a second. Then it kind of settled down for a good two-thirds of the next third of the race, and then we had Will Power and Devlin DeFrancesco coming together. Again, another one we'll talk about in a minute. And then, at the very end, we had Pato with what they now call an electrical issue because they were able to restart the engine. That engine's on its way to Detroit for Chevy to check out. So I think we can gloss over Jimmie Johnson. It's really not worth talking about that. But
well, I pinned that on him. I'll go to Calderon's defense, I guess. I'd say if anybody's trying to blame Calderon, I would disagree.
I don't think she was, focused on what was ahead of her, and I think there was somebody about checking up a little bit, so she had to make a move, and it forced Jimmie wide. So I don't really have an issue with what she did.
Yeah, her job is to not hit the car in front of her, not worrying about Jimmie not hitting his braking on time, given the circumstances of that first lap. So
yeah,
I think that's another unfortunate driver error from Jimmie Johnson.
So what is probably still, by now it's Tuesday evening, the one with the most intrigue is Marcus Ericsson versus Alex Palou. I'll get your thoughts here in a second, but long story short, Ericsson went up the inside, made the pass, made contact with Palou, sent Palou into the gravel. Palou had some sort of suspension damage, rejoined the race 10 laps down, and that's where he finished 10 laps down. And that was it's hard to call Palou angry. That was the most frustrated Palou has been outside of that, when he got collected in the Gateway crash last year. But he pinned the blame on Marcus Ericsson. Marcus Ericsson did not back down despite being asked in a press conference afterwards, and said, listen, I saw a spot. I'm going to make a pass. I'm sorry it was my teammate, but it is what it is. And Palou, even after the press conference, I don't remember who talked to him, was very unwilling to play the nice teammate card there. So while we thought Will Power and Devlin DeFrancesco might be the next in the rivalry chart, maybe it's two teammates.
Yeah, so my breakdown is there was two things that went on with the Ericsson-Palou contact. The first sequence, which is 100% Marcus's fault, is that he broke too deep, or he made a very advantageous attempt to overtake somebody on the third lap of the race when it wasn't really necessary. So you have Ericsson, who 100% shouldn't have done it, right? All his fault, yada, yada, yada. Then you get to the second part of the sequence is your Palou, you see it coming now. You need to find a way to just, maybe say, all right, that one's yours. I'm going to be hella pissed about it. And we can talk about it after the race, how you shouldn't be doing that on lap 4 against your teammate in a very intense championship battle. But you just need to let him go and kind of alter your line a little bit and call it a day, because what Palou did was not really give him any room. Again, Ericsson shouldn't have been there, but given the fact that he was there, you still kind of need to give him a little bit of room and not crowd him too much, because I think that's what happened is Ericsson got crowded, and had Palou given him just a tiny bit more room, I think they both would have survived that, no problem. And then again, get on the radio and say, what the hell's up with that? Like, this is ridiculous. We shouldn't be racing each other this intense this early. So I put 100% of it on Ericsson for breaking too deep, but then I think Palou could have done himself more favors by just giving him a little more room on the exit.
Do you, and this is just a hypothetical question, Palou maybe assumed, and rightfully or wrongfully, hey, Ericsson's my teammate, he knows better, he'll back out or something along those lines? And not saying it's the right thing, but you don't assume that Marcus Ericsson, who's been a great teammate at Ganassi the last, is it 2 years now, 3 years now?
3.
This is kind of, wow. Maybe that's kind of going through Palou's head, like, okay, I trust my teammate here to do the right thing, and maybe now he's not going to, but Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate here to see if there's something else.
I think on the run to turn 5, yeah. I mean, David and I have seen many passes into turn 5 over the years, and you can kind of tell when someone's going to have a run, and you can kind of tell when it's just going to be kind of business as normal going into turn 5, and that really looked like a business as normal. I think he was very far behind Palou to make it work. Ericsson is not normally known as the break deep kind of guy. Like if that was Sato, I could maybe see it, because Sato breaks deeper than anybody into turn 5 over the years. It's absolutely insane how he and Grosjean break so deep there. It's crazy. But yeah, just with the circumstances, your teammate, how far back he was, no way in a million years should Palou have expected it. But then, once it does happen, you just got to give him a little room, as my ultimate argument, I guess.
Yeah, I agree there. All right, let's go on to Devlin v. Will Power. Devlin also had some contact with Kyle Kirkwood. I don't know if you saw that. I rewatched the race and I didn't see it on TV either. But I know that's what Power said after the race. So Devlin said, "Hey, Power moved on me a couple times. I was trying to get a line and make my pass." Power obviously said the opposite. I'm pretty sure you and I agree 100% on this one without even having to talk about it, judging by the look on your face right now. But just speaking on the incident and not what Will Power said after the incident, what did you think?
I think Power gave him the whole outside to make whatever pass he wanted to try and attempt, and made it abundantly clear that he was not going to really give up the inside into that corner. And Devlin really wanted the inside anyways, and judged it wrong again, and it didn't end well. I'm thankful that Power at least got to keep going, even though his race was completely ruined.
Yeah.
Which was a good fantasy IndyCar day for me, because I had Power and Palou, so that was nice.
It was my first fantasy IndyCar podium, maybe ever, or maybe my second, I don't know, but...
Yeah, so appreciated that. Appreciated Dixon doing absolutely nothing during the race too, which is neither here nor there.
Very quiet, but anyway,
didn't do anything.
Let me touch on Devlin. I agree. It was just not the right. I feel Devlin actually had, other than that, and I guess maybe this mysterious Kirkwood contact that I don't want to say mysterious. The Kirkwood contact we didn't see. His lap times were pretty good. So he had pace, and I think if he had just been a little more patient, might have actually been able to do something on Will Power. That being said, terrible move, terrible decision. I don't like in the heat of the moment after the race, Devlin was like essentially blaming, I don't want to say blaming Will, but blaming Will. And I know they've, made up and hugged and talked things out. That Will Power posted that on social media today. But Will Power after the race did kind of intentionally give a little shoulder into Devlin's car with the side of his car. I saw the Facebook community begging for a 3-race ban. To chop off Will Power's arms, to suspend him forever. While it was intentional, I don't think there's any denying that. What would you do if you were Kyle Novak and Jay Fry right now?
If it wasn't in the pits, which it wasn't, and you didn't put anybody else at risk, I'd say a small monetary fine and call it a day. We don't need to make this into some gigantic thing. I think there should be a fine just for the sake of keeping or saving face. My personal opinion is I don't give a rat's ass that Will Power did that one bit. I think it was warranted. I think you got this rookie who's been a menace on the track this year, and I'm very thankful that said menace did not cause any accidents at Indianapolis, although he looked very determined to do that. I think he's been kind of a hazard at a couple other tracks, and you know, at some point, words don't really transcend very far if the messages aren't being received. So give him a little love tap on the cooldown lap. I have no, especially since he didn't wreck him, didn't destroy any equipment or anything like that, didn't put anybody else in danger, didn't, you know, put the crew in danger or anything like that. Just give him a little rub. I'm all good with that.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth. First off, I agree. Fine, whatever, you know. Hey, you're on double secret probation for a race. Like, okay, fine. I don't think it's suspension worthy or anything at all, because I don't think a big deal needs to be made out of this. But I think if I'm, you know, Kyle Novak at the next drivers meeting, I'm briefing before Mid-Ohio, I'm saying, hey, if you do that, there will be a stiffer penalty. Like, you know, make like a little bit of an example out of it. But I don't think you need to like blow it out of proportion publicly or anything like that. It was a little bit too much for my liking. Now, he did it at a spot in the track where if Devlin had spun or whatever, he would have gone off into the grass and, you know, not damaged anything really. So it is what it is. I would have rather grabbed him by the fire suit collar and screamed and shaken him a little bit, because I think that would have done them.
That's a mismatch.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of my point. You know, go hockey style on this one. Devlin's a Canadian. He can handle a hockey fight.
Oh, wow. No.
Even though he's half the height of Will Power.
Nope.
But it was a little too much for my liking. It was just, I don't know. Not my style.
Counter argument is that, you know, you say Kyle Novak needs to make an example out of what Power did after the race. I think, and I guess I'm not a fly on the wall, but I think more examples need to be made out of Devlin's actions on the track. Like,
no,
you know, hey, Power wouldn't have hit you, whether Power was right or wrong. Power wouldn't have hit you had you not dumped him into turn 5 because he misjudged it like an idiot. Yeah, so I guess
I agree.
I don't know what was said after Texas when the blatant 3 incidents there, but
I think you could, you know, say, hey, part A, don't do what Devlin did. Devlin, please don't do that. Part B, also don't do what Will Power did on the cooldown lap, and we're cool. You know, you could make it into both.
Did you? What did you think of Pagano's save on the kink?
Oh my god, I hate. Can't believe he did not, like, at some point you're thinking, okay, he's in the grass, that, you know, some bump in the dirt or something is going to hook him into the wall and we're going to have a yellow flag. Like, I had taken out my phone ready to tweet that we were under yellow, and he just, I mean, that was one of the more epic, adventurous saves we've seen in quite some time. Yeah,
because I watched the lights race from the backstraight Kettle Bottoms, which is between the kink and Canada corner. And I'm thinking to myself, right up to the point where they start braking, I was about 100 yards before that, so that when they were still going full throttle. And I'm like, this is easily the most dangerous part of the track right here. This or when you get to the braking zone in turn 5 are easily the most dangerous parts of this track. Mainly because I was thinking more from like a fan's point of view that if someone gets hooked right at that rate of speed, there's a good chance they may hit the fence. And seeing Pagano, he didn't want to turn right until he didn't have a choice anymore. So he took it all the way to the wall. And I'm thinking to myself, had he brushed the wall and got like jerked back into the racing line in some dramatic fashion, Scott Dixon would have been in some serious trouble. So I'm really glad there wasn't an incident there. But that is probably one of the scariest places to have any sort of incident, is that spot that he had it in. So I'm glad it was okay. It was a great save. I kind of watched the onboard of what led up to it. I'm kind of confused on either he kind of missed the apex and was carrying a little too much speed, so it was kind of a double whammy. So I bet he learned his lesson on that one. But I guess at the end of the day, no harm, no foul, and good save on him.
Hey, real quick, let's give our thankfulness that Christian Bogle is okay after that wild Indy Lights accident when he hit the front of the curb and went into the catch fence. And catch fence did its job and crumpled, and the car just landed, and he got out like it was no big deal. So that's obviously why the Indy Lights race ended after IndyCar, but glad to see that the fence and Indy Lights chassis did its job. Thank you, Delara.
Yeah, it was crazy. I've never seen a car do that where it didn't,
No.
snap around like we've seen with Franchitti and Wickens and Conway and whatnot. And it also happened to Lindsey Brewer in the Indy Pro race too, where she launched over the curb. So in Road America definitely needs to address that, because I've never seen that there, so I just don't know if that's just something they've never encountered. But to see it twice in one weekend was pretty crazy. Lindsey's crash was pretty insignificant, all things considered. But yeah, Christian Bogle's could have been a lot worse, so I'm glad it was all good. It was like one of the only times I wasn't in turn 5 on a race day was for that, so that was a little weird. I saw a red flag in the backstretch, but I couldn't hear the audio, and there was no TV screen, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
hope nothing bad's happening.
I had turned around and I wasn't looking at the screen, and then I saw people kind of like terrified looking at the screen. I'm like, I guess I should pay attention, and I saw like the tail end of the accident. But yeah, I mean, with Road America being repaved at the end of the year, you would think that repaving means the curbing has to come up to pave, so maybe they'll address it at that point. At least that's kind of what the discussion was after the race on Sunday.
Yeah, so there was that. Pato's DNF. That sucks he was running, 8th, 9th.
Yeah.
Drops down to 26th. That doesn't help the championship at all, unfortunately.
No, it's been a weird month for championship contenders, outside of, I guess, kind of Ericsson. Pato had a rough race. Palou had a tough race. Will Power had a tough race. Newgarden won, but didn't have a great Indy 500. So some of the guys in the top 6 or 7 right now in the championship have had like at least one race in the last month where they finished outside of the top 15.
Yeah, with Power, Pato, and Palou obviously getting the short end of the stick this week. So that sucks for them, but yeah, I'm sure he'll. I guess I don't know for sure. He might do fine in Mid Ohio. We'll see. What did we make of the Daily Pagenaud final restart? Connor being very not thrilled with the way Pagenaud raced him into turn 5.
I'd say 90. I don't have an issue with it. I mean, he forced him a little wide at the exit of the corner when he was putting the throttle down. Like, yeah, he didn't give Connor any room, but I think unlike the Ericsson thing, Pagenaud seemed to be more alongside of Daly, so I don't think it's as egregious as Connor said. I get why he's frustrated, because he definitely had no room to go anywhere when he was exiting the corner, but not really a big deal to me.
Yeah, I think part of it is you're just hoping the guy doesn't run you off, right? But the other part is, I think we've continually seen it over the last couple of years of turn 5 and turn 6, where if you're not in the correct position, you're going to get run off the road. And drivers need to be constantly thinking about that when they're defending and attacking. Like if you're trying to attack somebody going into turn 5 where you're setting yourself on the outside position, even if you somehow get a good run, you're still going to be on the outside going into turn 6, and you're just going to probably get run off. Or if you're trying to pass on the outside into turn 5 and you don't pull it off, you're also going to leave the door open for somebody else to get you into turn 6, and they're going to run you off. So ideally what you always want to do is turn 5 and turn 6. You pretty much exclusively want to be on the inside if you're trying to make that happen, or you have to be 4/5 of the way ahead of them to execute the pass, because you can kind of just sort of cut them off. But if you're going like 50-50 in a corner and you're on the outside in 5 or 6, there's like a 75% chance that you're going to get knocked off the track and lose 3 or 4 spots. So I think if that's the way the drivers are going to race it, and if that's the way that race control is going to allow it, not call any penalties, then drivers just need to be very cognizant of that going forward.
I mean, it's not a blocking penalty. I don't know. It's not avoidable contact. I don't think there's like really a penalty you could call on it anyway, unless he physically puts a wheel into him to knock him off. Like, okay, then that would be a penalty.
I'm trying to remember who. I think it was like Newgarden shoved Montoya off in 2016 in turn 5.
Yeah,
and I think that was kind of one of the first examples of Like that's how you're going to be able to do it nowadays with these cars. So yeah, some guys have kind of caught up to that, and other guys just have kind of learned their lessons the hard way, and some of them have continued to learn their lessons the hard way. So we'll see if people adapt for next year. So Rossi got his first pole in a long time, so that was great. It was really good to see. He also did it on blacks, which was really cool. But at the end of the day, Newgarden's pace was just too strong. It was interesting because Rossi was actually catching Newgarden hand over fist until the Pato caution came out, and then on the restart, the second restart with the real one, Ericsson got past Rossi and Joseph just skipped off into the distance. What do you think was going through Joseph's head when the Pato caution came out and shades of 2021 were coming all back up over everybody's heads?
Somebody asked him about that after the race, and he said, I felt like we had the stronger car versus Rossi from what I had seen in the last 5 to 8 laps or so. So I think he was feeling pretty confident still because, at least that's what he said afterwards. So there's probably a couple of, oh, shit, maybe not here we go again, but, we just brought Rossi back right to me. But from what he said, he was very confident in his race car that he would be able to, hold off Rossi or, hold off Ericsson. So, and he did, and he pulled away still at the end there. So yeah, I don't think he was probably all that stressed on this one.
Yeah, I'm like, oh great, here we go again.
Yeah,
Gearbox failure. Rossi might win now. So yeah, glad that he's been lights out the last 2 years. I don't remember what happened in 2020, but he's been lights out the last 2 years at Road America. So good on him. Also with it, he won the People Ready $1 Million Challenge. So congratulations to him. He gets $500,000, and then he split $500,000 between 2 different charities. One was a animal shelter / dog walking group in Nashville, and the other was providing resources for developmentally disabled children and children who have physical afflictions. So it obviously gives a lot of resources to the charities. So that was really awesome. He had those picked and 2 really good charities to support.
Yeah, I think so. Actually, one person from each of the charities joined in the press conference after the race, and the lady who is in charge of the dog rescue center said that their money would be able to build them a bigger building for the animals. So that's pretty amazing. And I know the other charity, the name is escaping me, not Fun Kids. That's a podcast I was talking to earlier today. Serious Fun, something along those lines. Joseph does a lot, the ping pong tournament he did in Nashville last year. And again, this year, they will be able to put a lot of that towards other, I think, educational resources is what the guy said on the press conference. So super cool.
Yeah, so good job by Joseph for winning. His 3 races all came on different courses. And then thank you to People Ready for that awesome initiative, and I hope they can keep that going because that got a lot of people talking after the race.
Yeah.
They got a lot of good attention out there, a lot of positive press. So that's, I think, on their end from the commercial side, $1 million well spent. So I hope they can keep that going because that was a really awesome idea. So congrats to Joseph on winning. Championship's still really tight. Me and David were talking about how we can't remember a time where the championship was this close and had this many drivers within 100 points after June. I think it was the top 10 is all within a shout, and we kind of said we would add Herta into that list. So basically, the one I'm a little fishy on for championship contention would be Pagano. He's currently 9th, I think, but I'm not really sold on his abilities to make a championship run. So the top 10 minus Pagano plus Herta, I think, are all within a legitimate shot here to win the championship. And with what we saw 3 really good contenders all have bad days. And when we get to Mid-Ohio, it tends to be a very straightforward track, but you just never know. Could be someone else's bad day. You just got to be ready to capitalize and get as many points as you can.
And the last couple Mid-Ohios have been, for a while, Mid-Ohio was, pretty
boring.
Standard. You knew what to expect. Yeah, boring. The last few have, I don't remember last year in particular, but the few before that at least were pretty for Mid-Ohio standards.
Yeah.
Like the one where Rosenquist tried to pass Dixon on the last lap when Rosenquist was still on Ganassi kind of sticks out. And the one before that, I don't even remember what happened at this point, but I think Mid-Ohio, as the track surface gets older, is becoming more lively.
Yeah, I think the new cars have helped too. The Aero kits just, it was just terrible. So, I don't want to, but we're going to recap our predictions. Finishing last was me.
Oh.
I had Palou.
Oh.
Don't know what I'm supposed to do about that. I had Power. Don't know what I'm supposed to do about that. And my long shot was Kirkwood. They were on the Rosenquist strategy until they weren't. I don't know why they deviated from it, but neither here nor there. Frenchie came in second. I was going to say an asterisk, but you were going to win anyways. He did have Pato, finished 26. So, again, what are you supposed to do about that? Ericsson P2, and then Sato 15th. You had Newgarden, Rossi, and Harvey. So
2 weeks in a row I've won, which is unprecedented in predictions.
We've had some recent staff changes at PLP. Host is doing well in predicting. The world has gone to shit.
Yeah, it's 187
no other way
degrees today, so things are definitely flipped on its head.
Yeah, boxing really sucked today after not boxing for 5 days and having an ultra healthy weekend. Boxing in 90-degree heat today was a really good time. So, driver of the day, who do you got?
Driver of the day. Let's give a shout out to Graham Rahal for qualifying poorly and finally charging through the field and finished 7th, I think, 8th maybe. So kind of the day that like Rahal as an organization needed. All three of their cars moved up as the race went on. I think Lundgaard was right around 10th or 11th most of the race. So not an outstanding weekend, but a positive weekend that they desperately needed.
I would like to give an honorable mention to the relevant side of Andretti Autosport for P3, P4, P5. And, Rossi had pole, Herta was in the Fast 6, Grosjean was P7. So they seem to have that figured out this weekend. So that's really good to see kind of Andretti Autosport rebounding finally after a pretty subpar Indy 500 minus Rossi and a pretty subpar start to the season. So good job for them. I think they got some positive momentum building, which it's kind of been their playbook for the last couple of years, is to have a bad start to the year and then finish out strong. So good on them. But my driver of the day is actually going to be, we'll go with the two rookies. We'll say Lundgaard. I thought Lundgaard did a great job all day. Stuck right with Dixon pretty much the entire day. Was on the same strategy as Dixon and didn't allow Dixon to overcut or undercut him significantly. And I thought he was doing a good job. And then Callum Ilott with the Juncos Hollinger team, with what they have and what they're doing, they must have a very good driver and engineering team strategy relationship going, because whatever they're doing right now is working very well. You look at it on a black and white point of view, P11 after starting P12, like, oh, okay, whatever. But you look at their resources compared to the other teams out there, with what they're doing right now, they're doing a great job. And Callum was fighting with people all day and keeping his nose clean and not doing anything stupid like others were. So, to me, it's a very impressive thing to watch these guys, especially on these natural road courses right now, because they're doing a great job.
Agreed.
Disappointment?
Scott Dixon. Just not.
Is that because Lundgaard almost beat him?
No. Fair. But no. He barely transferred into the Fast 12, and then usually that's a race where Scott Dixon ends up finishing 5th or 6th or something like that. And I don't know if they just picked the wrong strategy or what, but he was kind of just nowhere to be seen all day, and it's very not like Scott Dixon. So Scott gets the rare disappointment of the day.
I'll have to check to see if the number 9 car has ever started 9th and finished 9th.
I would imagine so.
That has to be pretty rare. I'm saying Elio. I think we are probably in the point of maybe being able to discuss if he's just going to go back to Indy 500 only.
Or at least ovals only.
Well, yeah, or ovals only, because I don't understand it. I don't get it. I'm trying to remember a time where he like massively outshone Pagano on a road course or any race besides Indy.
No.
Struggling. The second to last restart attempt. Not sure what to call that, but it wasn't pretty. And yeah, I don't want to say I was right, but I just don't get it. I don't know what Elio offers a team at this point in his career outside of May. I just don't. So
I would love to debate you, but I got nothing. I want to debate just to debate, but I can't.
We'll get back to that at some point. Did you have... Again, thanks to everybody who took the time to hang out with me this weekend. That was really awesome to see so many great people. I didn't have anything else. It's kind of slow news week outside of Road America. Now I got a couple weeks off before Mid-Ohio. So did anything come up for you that you wanted to discuss before we wrapped up?
No, I think since it's an off weekend, we can cut it there, and we'll get to any news that potentially comes up during the week next week. And yeah, appreciate everybody. Saw a lot of people there. Hickey's playing solitaire on his phone at the end of the episode here.
No, so... I got forced an ad to watch. I'm trying to check on the news.
So yeah, there's nothing. I was just looking at motorsports. There's nothing much going on right now. It's kind of like all the news was 10 days ago, and it's gotten quiet since then. But I think we're on the verge of at least silly season rumors starting to pop back up here in the near future. I know, speaking to a couple people on a few teams this weekend, the road to Indy silly season in terms of your drivers looking for another Indy Lights season or bumping up to Indy Lights is already in full force and has been for the last month. So might start to see some stuff on that front as well. And there's a couple Indy Lights guys I know are poking around IndyCar as well. So hopefully we'll be able to talk about that soon. But yeah, again, stay tuned for our first episode with David Malukas as co-host. Hopefully the week leading up to Mid-Ohio. I will confirm that later this week at some point. But yeah, everybody, thank you very much and have a lovely weekend of racing.